Okay, I wanted to touch bases on my thoughts regarding this whole Gina Carano versus Disney and Lucasfilm fiasco. Uh, to be upfront and completely honest, I like the character of Cara Dune that Gina Carano played. I thought she did a great job with it. I heard that it was written with her in mind specifically, but even so, I like the character. I thought she did a great job throughout the 2 seasons of The Mandalorian.
In fact, it was nice to see a lead female character coming out of a Disney movie that wasn't a princess in need of rescuing. Cara Dune was a badass, and she did the rescuing.
With that being said, I also like the Disney company. I like their movies, I like their theme parks, and I'm even a stockholder in the company. Obviously, with Lucasfilm, what's not to like? The Mandalorian was so successful that it generated a lot of goodwill regarding Lucasfilm and Disney, especially after the sequel trilogy.
This all begins because Gina Carano is putting herself out there via social media, like everybody is doing now. So she makes her comments on the social media and gets comments directed back at her about her pronouns, that she should put her pronouns in her messages. Apparently, Gina Carano doesn't play that game and isn't concerned about putting out her pronouns. Now, that's not being mean. That's not picking a fight with anybody. That's just saying, hey, I'm not worried about that. Call me her, she, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Hey, and newsflash for the rest of you people, most of the world doesn't really particularly care about it either. So she pushes back saying, no, not my thing. And even puts a sarcastic comment about there with the beep, bop, boop thing instead of her pronouns. Okay, in the modern era, probably not a really smart idea. But again, she has the right to say whatever she wants. So after these back and forths via social media, Disney reaches out to her and her peeps, sits down and says, you need to stop these kind of messages and issue some type of an apology. Apparently, Gina was not a big fan of this, but she agreed to word some type of apology, but I guess it wasn't good enough for the people at Disney. And then I guess Disney and Lucasfilm want her to attend some type of re-education class so she can be learned the right way to live in the modern United States. She can't have these independent thoughts. Here is the ironic part. When Disney was filming Mulan, they kissed China's butthole to be able to film. They even said thank you to them after the filming, only miles from a camp where people are being raped and killed under control of the Chinese government. This is a real world atrocity, not this phony baloney business. Do you get the point? Disney and Lucasfilm willingly get in bed with China, who is killing people in camps where they, concentrate people together. That's okay because they're going to make the dollar. However, a strong, independent-minded female, we can't have that.
Well, you know what they say. You gotta lower your ideals of freedom if you want to suck on the warm teat of China.
So Gina Carano apparently decides she is not going to do this despite the insistence of Disney. So at this point, Disney's looking for a reason to get rid of her. At some point, Gina Carano releases the comment about the Holocaust. On a personal note, it is never a good idea to compare anything in the modern world with the Holocaust. The Holocaust, what led up to it, are an atrocity all of their own. And it does no good to compare anything to it. However, with that being said, what was it that Gina actually said? Well, let's take a look. Here is the actual comment, quote, Jews were beaten in the streets not by the Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is this any different from hating someone for their political views, end quote. The interesting point here is that she poses it as a question. How is this any different? Question mark. She is not saying that they are the same. She's not saying that somehow the two were equivalent. She's asking the question. What I get from reading this, that what the Nazis did led down an evil path, ultimately murdering millions. And it was sanctioned by the government. I believe what she's trying to convey is that when certain politicians in our country go out of their way to encourage the hatred of certain people because of their political views, that could lead down a bad path as well. Not as horrific as the Holocaust. I understand her point. Rather than engage in thoughtful conversation, we had to fire her. By going after her and firing her, giving fuel to what her argument was in the first place, that somehow people with her political beef are being blacklisted. While at the same time, these very people that are trying to blacklist or hush Gina Carano are actively out pursuing relationships with China, which is a regime that currently today has concentration camps where people are being killed. This is not something from 70 years ago. This is happening now. It is hypocritical for you to slam somebody who has the freedom in this country to express whatever it is they believe, while at the same time to ignore the real world atrocities that are taking place. Okay, with all that being said, what are my final thoughts on this entire thing? Well, obviously, I think it was a poor decision on Gina Carano's part to compare anything that she is going through politically to the Holocaust. That being said, I think the biggest loser in this entire thing was Disney and Lucasfilm. They had a huge opportunity here to be the bigger person, to be the better company. All they had to do if they were asked about Carano's comments, and I'm not sure that they were ever asked, but if they were, all they had to do was say that Ms. Carano has the freedom to use whatever social media platforms that she has to make whatever comments about her beliefs. However, those comments, her beliefs, her opinions, do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Disney or Lucasfilm. That's all you had to do. If you wanted to work behind the scenes with Gina Carano to try to, hey, could you squash down some of the comments because we don't want to hear about it, then you could continue to do that, and you would be the better person. And all the goodwill that you had out of the success of The Mandalorian would continue. But no, you pissed that goodwill away at a time when you need it. It was a mistake. Businesses and people of the modern era, the modern social media era, need to come to grips with the fact that not everybody agrees about every topic 100% of the time. There's always going to be somebody out there you disagree with. That's fine. Either engage in a dialogue over it or let it go. Either way, we have to stop this blacklisting, blackballing, cancel culture thing that we're going through right now. Anyway, that's just my opinion for whatever it's worth. That and $1.50 will get you a gas station coffee.